Welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. We've got some things to talk to you about this morning. A Jesse Lingard transfer race opens up as another Premier League club enters the fray with West Ham United. Also, huge offer on the table for Paul Pogba. This is coming from The Athletic as they update us on the situation with Paul Pogba, United's potential issue in relation to this as they play their hand and Pogba sort of goes, let me think. We'll talk about that. Marcus Rashford, some positive news on Marcus Rashford's road to recovery as well, and a lot of other things. We've got nothing on Tchouaméni this morning. There's no Romano tweet yet, so nothing on that at the moment, but lots and lots to discuss. As well as, you can see that I'm in my Boohoo Man outwear today. Activewear. And as part of the rollout of Boohoo Man's active range, they've decided to sponsor the Arnold Sport Festival. This is a great idea because the festival is attended by some of the fittest and most active people in the world. But I have been doing some thinking and I've put together a list of other events Boohoo could sponsor. The World Rock, Paper, Scissors Championship. What better way to show your mental agility than a game of rock, paper, scissors? They could also sponsor the Extreme Ironing Championships. I'd be brilliant at this. If you want shirts ironing, I'm brilliant. I charge about 50 quid a shirt, but I'm brilliant at it. Goldbridge Ironing, I think. Anyway, Extreme Ironing Championships. Extreme Ironing is amazing. What is there not to love about superhuman athletes trying to iron the perfect shirt while wakeboarding or skydiving? I couldn't do that bit. And finally, the Cheese Rolling Championship. Yes, that's exactly what it sounds like. Grown men and women roll wheels of cheese down a hill and the first to hit the bottom is the winner. Surely there's no better way to advertise Boohoo Man Activewear than slapping the logo on the side of some cheese. Then again, they could just stick with Arnold. As part of their amazing sponsorship of the Arnold Sports Festival, Boohoo are running an awesome competition, and you could be part of that. To enter, all you've got to do is hit the link in the video description, which you'll find in there. Fill in the entry form, and you could win 2 VIP tickets to the festival where you'll meet Eddie Hall and UFC legend Khabib. If that was not enough, Boohoo are also throwing in an activewear bundle so the winners look their best at the event. Thanks so much to Boohoo Man for supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. And right, we'll get on with the show now. I just want to say that is a very good competition. Eddie Hall, whatever, meeting Khabib, the UFC legend. Make sure you enter. Links in the video description. You can win 2 VIP tickets to the Arnold Festival. And the link is in the video description there. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I might enter that myself. They won't let me win it. They won't let me win it. They won't. But yeah, links in the video description. Big shout out to Boohoo Man, and you can enter that competition for free. 2 tickets. You can meet Khabib and Eddie Hall. Anyway, let's get on. Right, links in the video description for that. Let's talk about Paul Pogba first of all then. Huge offer for Paul Pogba in the world. I can't do that as well as Clarkson, but I'm doing very well. I hope everyone's doing well this morning as well. We've got the preview coming out this afternoon. I've just been speaking to Paul Ince as well. I can't wait for that video to go up. We're going to get so much insight from Incey this season. I mean, some of the things he was just talking to me then about the aftermath of Cantona's kick at Selhurst Park in the dressing room, which is just, can't wait for some of the stories he's going to tell. Anyway, Khabib for CDM. Well, if you win the competition, you could ask him. He'd give us a bit of bite in there, wouldn't he? But let's talk about Paul Pogba. So this is coming from The Athletic, which is an outlet in the UK. What they're saying about Paul Pogba is, in a nutshell, is basically this. He is happy at Manchester United. He's happy with the players that have been brought in. He's happy to the start of the season. Apparently he's his fittest he's been for a long time. He is content. However, happiness can be for many other things. Happiness might not be because he thinks he's staying at Man United forever. Happiness could be because he's happy with the team, they're going to be competitive, and this is his last year. Happiness could be he knows he's going to be leaving in a year's time. That happiness could be he's going to stay here forever. So happiness is good. We want a happy Paul Pogba, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's great news for what we want to happen. So, but then again, some people were saying I want him to go. So, not me, but there you go. But anyway, what they're saying is, and I'll read this out. This is coming from The Athletic. Very interesting. They're saying sources believe the offer was as much as £400,000 per week. A significant improvement on his £290,000 per week contract was offered during the second part of last season. Paul Pogba is yet to respond to that proposal. So the second half of last season, a significant improvement on Pogba's contract was offered. Sources believe this offer was as much as £400,000 a week, making Paul Pogba the highest paid player at Manchester United, above of David De Gea, who's on 375,000 peak, and stretching to 2025 with the option of a further year. So effectively, it would be a 4-year deal with the option of a 5th year, which would take him to 33, and he'd be on £400,000 a week. The deal is said to remain on the table, but it's expected that the uncertainty will extend beyond the end of the current transfer window and into the next season, which was already started. So Paul Pogba there, a bit of an advancement on what Manchester United's state of play is. And J1 Ren says 400k a week is completely fair. You know what? I think it is and it isn't. I think that's the first thing to dissect here. Is £400,000 a week fair for Paul Pogba? I mean, it's ridiculous. But when you consider that De Gea's on 350, 375, then Pogba and Raiola are going to say, look, we don't want to be on less than a goalkeeper. With all due respect, a goalkeeper should not be earning more than a star outfield player. So they're going to go, well, we want 400k a week minimum. United have backed themselves into a corner there because of what they've paid to De Gea and Sanchez in recent years. And you know, De Gea should be on I think De Gea should be on 300k a week, not 375. So we've overpaid there, as much as I like De Gea. So 400k a week for Pogba. But it does worry me. It does worry me because if Pogba's worth 400k a week, then Bruno's worth 400k a week. Then Sancho becomes worth 400k a week, and then Varane says he wants 400k a week. And then Luke Shaw starts saying, well, I don't want 400k a week, but I'd like 350k a week. And suddenly these wages are starting to go, boom, boom, boom. And then Phil Jones says, no one will buy me. I want a new contract. I want 200 grand, you know. But it starts to go, it starts to get out of control. But in essence, I do agree with what Rem said there. I mean, look, Paul Pogba's got every right to ask for 400 grand a week. One, because De Gea's not far off that himself, and Pogba would say I want a bit more than him. But most importantly of all, in a year's time, I'm going to get £500,000 a week. PSG will give me £500,000 a week because they will get me for free. So I'm not signing this 5-year deal on anything less than 400 grand a week. And I think that's what Pogba and Raiola have got every right to say. Whether you think it's right or I think it's right is irrelevant, because this is a buyer's market, and Paul Pogba knows that in a year's time he can be on 100 grand a week, more than that, £500,000 a week, easy. And I think most clubs will give him that are interested. United need to knuckle down on signing Rice, says Liquid Esports. Not going to happen, but I do agree with you. So look, in relation to Paul Pogba, that is the update from The Athletic, that this deal is on the table. It is on the table. It's believed to be around £400,000 a week, and it's been on the table for a few months. But the feeling is that Paul Pogba is not going to sign it anytime soon, and will go into the season thinking it through. And obviously, as many people will have already said in the chat, the feeling is that Manchester United and Paul Pogba will not resolve this anytime soon. That he feels that his options are wide open, and that obviously, whilst it might remain on the table, he also knows that Manchester United can't force him to sign it. They're not going to sell him, and as quoted by The Athletic, Paul Pogba is going to take his time to assess his options, with a return to his homeland Paris and France as a free agent a possibility this time next year. The next contract he signs is certain to be his last big one, and I think that, you know, is reflective very much about, you know, where Pogba is going to be. We're going to have to just accept that there's a very, very big risk, as I've always said, that he will run down his contract. And there's not a lot we can do about that. So let's wait and see what happens. But United, look, if you want Pogba to stay, and I think a lot of us do, they've put an offer on the table. Whether United can go any more than that, whether United should go above 400k a week or not, I don't know. But 400k a week is a big offer. Not sure it'll be enough, but, you know, we're into that category we've always been. I've said he'll run his contract down. I've said it for months. If we can be successful on the pitch, maybe he sees a project here and he stays. Excluding Pereira, we're still at the Premier League squad limit of 25 over 21, so can't buy register anyone new yet who will realistically leave to make room, says Duncan. And seamlessly, Duncan takes us into what I want to talk about next. Kenneth says Pogba should be getting more than a keeper who's struggling to keep his spot, but then increasing wages causes a domino effect in the team. Kenneth, yeah, it's almost like you were listening to me a couple of minutes ago, but I agree with you. A lot of people are saying give him 400k, but anything above that is ridiculous. So there you go. That's where we are. But here's an interesting thing. Voided Light says stop with the De Gea nonsense. De Gea earned his contract with years of consistent performances saving us. What has Pogba done in the past 5 years to earn 400k a week? Well, I always love the different angles, and I tell you what, I wasn't going to create a debate out of that, but you're absolutely spot on. David De Gea's wages are looked at now by some fans and some unappreciative journalists as well as massive. They are massive, but how many Player of the Year's awards did he win? David De Gea, whatever you think about him at the moment, and I still think he's a top keeper, but he has performed at Manchester United over the last decade for many years as our best player. He earned that contract over the last 10 years. He did. Whether you think he deserves it now or not, he did. Has Pogba earned that contract? Open up. But that's what we're gonna. But whether he's earned it or not, in some ways that's irrelevant because you either pay it or you lose him for free. This is not necessarily about the player's performances. This is now about he's got 1 year left on his deal. So, swap Lingard for Neves, says Mark Holder. Well, let's talk about Jesse Lingard because there's a story coming out this morning. Well, there's two stories coming out this morning. One of them is coming from Birmingham Live for something. I don't know why that's coming out from there, but basically saying that Everton are now interested in Jesse Lingard. But more and more coming out about West Ham. West Ham have made it very open. We spoke about this, I think, on Monday morning. Stuart Pearce, the coach at West Ham, publicly saying they want Jesse Lingard and the ball is in the court of Manchester United. But now we're starting to hear that Man United's price is coming down. Initially 30 million, now 25 million, now believed to be about 20 million. And Lingard apparently open to a move to West Ham, was very, very happy there. I think what United could do though, what Manchester United could do here is they could generate some interest by getting other clubs interested. Because I tell you what, £20 million for Jesse Lingard, if only West Ham are interested, is probably a good deal for United. But if we can get a bit more interest, maybe an Everton, maybe a Wolves, maybe a Leicester, someone like that, we can get that price going. And I tell you what, I've always said in relation to Everton, I don't know how concrete this information is, but the great thing about Everton is you could argue that Everton and West Ham are quite similar. You could almost argue that Everton's ceiling is higher than West Ham's. But at the moment, West Ham are a better team than Everton because they finished above them last year. But they're very similar levels, and I think Everton have got a bigger ceiling. What's also interesting is that Everton, Liverpool, is very close to Manchester. And especially where a lot of footballers live, they tend to live between Liverpool and Manchester because it's nicer areas. So Lingard to Everton isn't really going to be an upheaval for him. If he goes to West Ham, he's going to have to move to London. You're not going to commute from Manchester to London every day. So, look, I'm not saying Everton are in for Jesse, but it could be a more appealing move for Lingard to go to Everton, and it would be following in the footsteps of Phil Neville, who did it at roughly the same age, where it was like, I'm not going to get in the first team, it's getting harder and harder, I've been a great servant to the club, I'm going to go and play first team football at Everton. So, look, I'm not saying Everton are coming in for Lingard, but I think it would be very interesting if they did. For me, we talk about Lingard all the time. I think with Lingard, the bottom line is that if he wants to play football, he's going to have to go. And I think from United's point of view, we need to generate some money, and he is the best asset we've got that's going to be able to move in the next 2 weeks. So I think that this is a good move, and whether it's West Ham or anybody else, I think Lingard should be looking to move on. So we'll wait and see what happens with that, but it feels like it's starting to get a little bit more momentum with Jesse Lingard at the moment, so let's wait and see. Abdullah's just mentioned Lewandowski. I just want to say about Lewandowski, apparently Lewandowski wants to leave not PSG, Bayern Munich, but Bayern Munich have whacked a very significant transfer fee on him. Now, the reason I mention Lewandowski, and I'm sure many of you have picked up on it, is that in a year's time, United will be looking for another striker. Now, Lewandowski, let me just check his age. I think he's 31. Lewandowski. Here he is. Robert Lewandowski. He's 32, actually. He's going to be 33 in 2 days' time. So, next season, he'd be 34. Which is rather interesting. He's just about to turn 33, which is he's a year and a half younger than Cavani. So again, you'd be looking at. I mean, I'll be honest about Lewandowski here. I think with Lewandowski, it's not the player I would be looking for if I was Manchester United. He's eyeing a move away. He's been there for nearly 10 years. how many years has he got left on his contract? 2023. So he'd have a year left on his contract next summer. So yeah, you could see Lewandowski moving. What we do know is that Ollie wants a striker. I even saw something this morning about Ollie still wanting a striker if one came onto the market. I'd say that it's fair to say that Solskjaer is obsessed with getting a striker. One thing I've said many times this summer is that if Haaland had been available, Ollie would have gone for him before he'd have gone for Sancho, 100%. So it just shows you that, and I think that would have been a mistake. I think it would have been a mistake to prioritise a striker over a right winger, a CDM and a centre-back. To me is crazy, but it's well known that Solskjaer wanted a striker. That's why a lot of talk in March about the striker being the priority. There was a lot of we did videos on Haaland and Kane back in March and April. There was a lot of talk about it. So Ollie does want a striker, and Lewandowski won't be this year, but in a year's time, Cavani goes. Do you then go for 34-year-old Cavani, because he'll be coming up for 34 this time next year? He's 33 in 2 days' time. So for me, we've done it with Zlatan, we've done it with Cavani. You can't knock it, but at some point it's not going to work, isn't it? At some point, bringing in a striker close to their mid-30s, no matter how good they are, is not going to work. But I would. What was it Romano said on Monday? Watch out for Bayern Munich and Haaland. I mean, do you want Lewandowski so Bayern can get Haaland? No, I want Haaland. Do you think Sancho or Varane will play at the weekends? The CC, where you can check out my preview this afternoon. And also I spoke to Paul Ince about it just a few minutes ago. Interesting what his observations were. He wouldn't play both of them, is what he said, but I won't tell you which because you can check that out. But no, I mean, look, I think, we can talk about that at the weekend. But as I said last night, these players have been brought in for a lot of money. I think they should play, definitely. Mbappe to Real Madrid will probably happen, yes. I mean, talking about strikers, a little bit of positive news this morning. Marcus Rashford. Now, I know what people are going to say in the chat straight away. So let me just say that I know what you're going to say and I'll bring it straight in. So Marcus Rashford is apparently ahead of schedule on his recovery from his shoulder injury, and there is an expectation that he could be back in training by the end of the month, in about 10 days' time. You've then got 2 weeks of an international break, so they're talking that Rashford could be back playing by mid to late September instead of mid to late October. So a month ahead of schedule, Rashford is there, according to reports. My personal opinion on this is I don't want him to rush back. He's meant to be out till October. Don't play him till October. The mistakes we've made with Rashford is that he always plays too soon. He always plays with injuries. I cannot moan about this because I would be exactly the same. I've always said this about, people criticise Rashford going to the Euros because he was injured, and he said himself in hindsight that, maybe I shouldn't have gone. People have criticised Rashford for playing in games for United when he's been injured, and he's admitted that. But look, I might be getting on a bit now, but I remember what it's like when you play football, and I'd play on a Saturday in a semi-final, and the final would be the following week, and I'd get a really bad knock to the knee. I'd barely be able to walk Monday, Tuesday, but there's no way I wasn't going to be playing in that final. So I can totally understand what Rashford and many other players do. They almost lie to themselves because they want to play, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a bit like what somebody said last night on the show. It's not Lingard's decision to make to leave United. United should be making the decision for him because they're Manchester United and they should know that they need the money and that they don't need him anymore. And it's the same with an injured player. This is the fitness department. The fitness department should be telling Ollie that Rashford's not ready to play, and that should have been happening for the last year. So my only concern, great news about Rashford, that he's looking like he's going to be back sooner than expected. But I do also think we don't need him to rush back massively. My concern is he rushing back because he's looking at the team thinking, shit, Pogba's doing well on the left, Sancho's, I would be like that. If I was Rashford, I'd be thinking, I need to get back. Does it hurt? No, I'm fine. And I'm not saying that is the case because some bodies do heal quicker than others. We've seen that before. Somebody can be out for 6 weeks with a hamstring injury and they're back in 3 weeks. Somebody can be out for 6 weeks with a hamstring injury and they're not back for 2 months. So maybe Rashford here is just showing his ability to recover quickly. But what I don't want Rashford to do is rush back, because if he rushes back at 80%, I think with this layoff with Rashford, it's very much like, I look at Rashford after the Euros and I think, I actually think it's horrific to say it, but I think he was around 50% fit. I think over the last year he's probably gone from about 70% fit and gradually degraded with wear and tear down to about 50%. It's a bit like plugging your phone in and charging it up again. In fact, it's exactly like this. This is the analogy for Rashford, right? His battery on his phone has virtually ran out, right? What we've done is, with this shoulder injury, is we've plugged him into a charger and he's recharging the battery. What we don't want to do is when we hit 80% is go, well, I'm fine, and start playing, because that 80% is just going to drop again. It's never going to get to 100%. This is our opportunity with Rashford to fully charge the battery, get him to 100%. You very rarely get this opportunity with the modern day footballer anyway. They very, very rarely do. You look at Bruno, he looks absolutely refreshed. But that's a fast charge. He's only had a 3-week holiday. That's a fast charge. And the trouble with the fast charge is it can, over time, damage your battery and make you drop down quicker. This is a real opportunity for Rashford to have a 2-month recharge, a slow recharge, where everything gets fixed. I don't want him to come back at 80% and never be 100%. I want Rashford at 100%, totally firing. And I hope United do allow him / tell him that you're not coming back until October, because that extra 2 weeks beyond what you think could be huge. But look, we're in the hands of the fitness people on that. Midfield player exchange plus cash for a new CDM, says the Orange Carrot. Well, we're not going to do that in 2 weeks. Ashmail Anderson, thank you very much for the members club. Thanks for joining. I agree with you, Mark, but if medical staff clear Rashi, get him involved ASAP, says Christian Nichols. Yeah, but you know what, Christian? Do you trust the medical staff? I mean, a lot of people think we've got great medical staff now, and I know Ollie says they're world class. I don't think we've had great medical staff at this club for a decade, and I don't think they were very good last year. People seem to think we've got great medical staff. I don't think we have. Look at Bruno last year. Look at Maguire last year. Look at Luke Shaw last year. They were overplayed and allowed to be overplayed. And look, Maguire didn't get his injury because he was overplayed, but you know, we need to be on far better. You know, when it goes into, it's not really about the medical staff. It's about rotation. We've got a massive squad. We've got people like Matic and Van der Beek. We've got people like Mata. We've got people like Delo. We've got people like Tellez, Lindelof now, Eric Bailly. You've got, you can't, Martial. You know, there's loads of players now at Manchester United that won't be starting games, that can be used to start games. You know, you're not starting Phil Jones and Brandon Williams and James Garner and Shoretire. You know, you're not starting those players where there's an element of risk because of youth or they're not good enough. These are players like Anthony Martial, Alex Tellez, Diego Delo, Victor Lindelof. These are players that you can bring in with confidence that they're going to perform. That's what rotation's about. And if we rotate better this season, then fitness levels will stay higher. If you play Bruno for 10 games in a row, that's going to have a negative effect on his energy levels. If you play Bruno for 8 games and you play Donny in 2, that gives Bruno a little bit of rest and keeps him fresher. That's what we've got to do. And Ollie needs to be working with his medical department on that this year. Hope Rashford doesn't rush back. Saw today morning reports that Chelsea's back in for Tchouaméni. Won't get him if that's true. Just another positive spin, says DK. Well, there you go. We should buy a backup striker next year, not Haaland. A Dortmund player I would go for instead is Bellingham as a replacement for Matic. What a player, says Tabres. We'll have to pay big, or whoever gets Bellingham will have to pay big. Andre says, if we rush him back, his poor form will be due to that. If he waits longer, it will be down to him being rusty. Excuses will always be there with Rashford, says Andre. And Mark, since Chelsea bought Lukaku, City will get Kane and PSG will get Ronaldo next year. I truly believe we will sign either Haaland or Lewandowski next year, says Allah. But you know, with Haaland, and Fabrizio said it on Monday, there's just this assumption that he's coming to the Premier League. Why can't he go to Barcelona? Why can't he go to Real Madrid? Football moves very, very quickly. One thing I would say about Barcelona and Real Madrid is they're not finished. They're in a bad situation, but they're not finished. Those football clubs are not run like Manchester United. They're not run by businessmen, billionaires who want to make money out of the club. Barcelona's problem is they spent money Like, that's what they did. They spent money they didn't really have. They've got into financial difficulties, and we can all laugh at Barcelona, but the reality is they're in financial difficulties because they spent too much money on players. They did a Leeds. They've really, it's not like United, who don't necessarily spend enough. Barcelona tried to spend too much money and got into trouble, and Real Madrid will do the same. Real Madrid and Barcelona are about football. 100% they're about being the best teams in the world. They will find a way back, and they might be able to do that in the next 12 months. And if they do it in the next 12 months, then they will go for Haaland. So I wouldn't assume that because PSG don't need him and because Man City and Chelsea don't need him, Haaland's coming to United. What if Bayern Munich want Haaland? What if Juventus find a way back in and get Haaland? There will be options for Haaland. I wouldn't start counting your chickens. And also, what I would say about Haaland is, if Paul Pogba leaves next summer, United privately will not be going, thanks Paul, thanks Mino, it's been a good 6 years, spent £90 million on you, you're walking out for fuck all, but thanks. There will be privately bad feeling between Raiola and United if that happens. You really think we're going to do a deal for Haaland if Pogba walks out the door for free? So you got to wake up and smell the coffee sometimes. And I think that this is what I was talking about Declan Rice yesterday. There are people in our fan base going, we don't need a CDM this year because we're going for Rice next year. Since when are we going to get Declan Rice next year? Do you not realise he wants to go to Chelsea? But, it's almost like people buy the spin. Oh, we're going to get Haaland next year, and that's a positive story United can do. What did Richard Arnold say, who's one of the high people on the board at United? He said, transfer speculation drives massive social interaction for our social accounts. And people think that United wouldn't be opposed for stories to be out there that they're never going to buy. Jay Sargent, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. Appreciate that. Dortmund shouldn't do the same mistake they did by selling Lewandowski, says Cheth. And Haaland, just on Tchouaméni there. Ollie Jones says that the Manchester Evening News mentioned Bissouma in an article last night. Look, we've never been linked to Bissouma. If we were linked to Bissouma, I would be so excited. And I will say this here because I was going to mention Tchouaméni. There's no update on Tchouaméni today. Yesterday it looked a little bit positive. It seemed we were linked to him. What if Chelsea are linked to him again this morning? What if that story about Tchouaméni has been put out there to spark Chelsea? Chelsea suddenly think, shit, United want him, let's do it. That's happened many times before. United's been used before to force another club to get their skates on. So at the moment, the Tchouaméni transfer rumour for me is very much 20%. It's nowhere near anything that I'm thinking it's going to happen. And we need better information to be coming out from more high profile sources than what we have at the moment. That could just be United being used for Chelsea to get interested. As for Bissouma, I'm happy to sit here and say it because I've said it for a lot of the summer. I would take Bissouma and be over the moon excited about it. I think he's exactly what we need, and I'm surprised he's not been a player that we've been linked to. Now, I'm not saying we were ever going to sign him, but I'm surprised he's not a player that we've been linked to because every time he played United last season, which was twice if I remember, he was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant against us at Old Trafford. He kept Bruno very, very quiet. He took the ball on with his back to goal. He basically was like a decent Fred as a holding midfielder. Now, he doesn't always play holding midfield, but he can definitely do it. And the way Brighton play football, he's used to quick, high press, playing under pressure football. And I'd love Bissouma to come to Manchester United. And actually, controversial or not, but if you said to me you can have Tchouaméni, Camavinga or Bissouma, I would go with Bissouma because I know more about Bissouma and I also know that he's Premier League proven, and I also know that at 24 / might be 25 now, he's experienced. And he's sort of like a Bruno signing. Bruno was around that age group when we bought him. He's ready to take the step up. He's Premier League proven, and I think he would be a really good signing for United, but we're just not linked to him, are we? Sarab says that, hi Mark, why United aren't going for Ronaldo? Ronaldo has a mentality of a 27-year-old, can give Haaland, Kane a run for their money. I think that in relation to in fact, apparently we might just have an update here coming in about Tchouaméni, so let's have a look. It's from Fabrizio Romano. Manchester United are not currently working to sign Monaco's Aurélien Tchouaméni this summer. That is very, very interesting. let me just put that out. So that develops a bit of a conversation here. Let me just put it out. So look, it's disappointing, of course it is, but we spoke about that last night. We did speak about it last night. That is a deal that is going to have to be, for us to get excited about that deal, it's going to have to be progressed. He's tweeted out 2 minutes ago, Fabrizio Romano, Manchester United are not currently working to sign Tchouaméni from Monaco. No talks or direct contracts as of now. Same for Tolisso. So, I mean, look, park it. Literally park it. You can forget about it. We are not in for Tchouaméni. And maybe it's almost perfect timing, isn't it? Because what was I saying 3 or 4 minutes ago? Maybe that United interest was about getting Chelsea involved. Maybe United were being used there by Monaco or his agent to boost Chelsea's interest or prick Chelsea's ears up. It's very disappointing because I'll repeat what I said yesterday. I do think that he would have been a good signing for us. I think he ticks a lot of the boxes. But to be honest with you, are we really in this situation now where we're running out of time and we're not going to get anybody? Because it felt like a nice story yesterday, didn't it? But as I said last night, I was only ever 20% sure. And it needed a Romano to say, yes, they are in talks. And then you get excited. But he's completely shut that down. He's done what Romano does. He's made a few phone calls. And you can take that as read. We're not in for Tchouaméni from Fabrizio Romano. Breaking news, Manchester United are not in for Tchouaméni. So we can park that and forget about it. Which is a shame. It is a shame because I think he would have been perfect. But, you know, not perfect. I think he would have been good. But I'll go back to what I said before, and I was saying that before that came out from Romano, that for me, look at Basuma. I like him. I agree in getting a midfielder in Mark, but the Athletic have said multiple times Ollie won't settle for second or third targets for midfield. He wants Rice and is willing to wait until next year, in my opinion. Christian, can I please repeat this to you? You're falling into this trap of nonsense. We are not getting Declan Rice because Ollie wants first choice. Ollie needs to wake up and smell the coffee. We're not getting Declan Rice because he wants to go to Chelsea. It's so well known in this industry. Chelsea want him and he wants to go to Chelsea. I don't care what United think. They won't win that race if Chelsea want him. So all I'm saying is, look, I would take Declan Rice. I think he's perfect for Manchester United. I've said it for ages. Declan Rice to United is perfect. But if United think they're going to wait a year and get him, you can't win a race. Well, it's like wanting to marry your dream girl or boy. You can be absolutely besotted with them, but if they say to you, I quite like you, but I'm in love with somebody else, and if they want me, I'm going there, that's where you can propose as many times as you like. And this is the situation. It's well known. It's really well known that Declan Rice wants to go to Chelsea. It's his dream move. Now, if Chelsea go and buy somebody else and say we don't want you, then he will come to United. But to say we're going to wait until next summer to get Declan Rice because we're saving up, it's not about that. It really isn't. So what I'm saying to people who are saying we're going to get Declan Rice next summer, you're falling into the spin of the Glazers because that deal is not easy to do. Really not easy to do, and certainly not a guaranteed deal next summer. Sharif, thank you very much for joining the United Stand Members Club. So, you know, I suppose that develops the conversation a little bit because I do agree that we should never be looking to buy second or third or fourth options. But what if the first option is unachievable because they don't want to come to the club? Ollie needs a new first option. You know, that's what I'm saying is Ollie needs a new first option because ultimately Declan Rice is not gettable. And if he was gettable, we could have done it this summer because he wants to leave West Ham. And if we'd have put an offer in for him this summer, Chelsea would have had to, you know, they would have had to match it. We haven't put an offer in for a player that is actually available and waiting right now at Manchester United. So, yeah, you know, let's see. Every time I get on this channel, it feels like doom and gloom. It's becoming really hard to watch, says Vader is dead. Mate, you know what? I know exactly who you are. You're just a troll, and I've noticed this a lot at the moment. There are certain people trying to infiltrate our community, and it's because there's other channels around now, and it's because the United Stand is the #1 community. So you get these people now, and they're even willing to spend money to try and pop our community. Doom and gloom. We've just spent 35 minutes talking about transfer news, which I've got no control on. What doom and gloom are you talking about? I didn't stop us going for Tchouaméni. Romano said we're not in for him. Paul Pogba, huge offer to stay at the club. Not doom and gloom from The Athletic. Jesse Lingard, transfer race from Birmingham Live and London outlets. Rashford, back from injury early. Good news. What are you talking about? You know what, mate? Go away and watch your shitty little channels that you watch and stop trying to ruin the United stand, which is the biggest and best Manchester United fan community. I don't know whether anyone else has noticed this, but I notice it more and more. It's always doom and gloom. It's always doom and... How can it be doom and gloom? We're talking about news. We're talking about news. There's no doom and gloom. We've just won 5-1. Player ratings, everyone's giving it massive excitement. Like... These people are a disgrace. They're an absolute disgrace. I don't know what they're talking about. Chelsea won't buy Rice if they have Kante and Jorginho, says Ayan. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? So why did Chelsea buy Lukaku then when they've got Timo Werner? Like, Chelsea will buy Declan Rice because Tuchel wants... Did Tuchel buy Kovacic? No. Did Tuchel buy Kante? No. Did he buy Jorginho? No. Tuchel wants Declan Rice. He wants his own player. This happens with managers all the time. Chev says, do you think we'll get any transfers in before deadline? No. I don't. Because I think that we've only got... Wow, when we hit Saturday, it's a week and a half left of the transfer window. And as I always say, United take, even this summer where we've worked quickly, I think United take between 4 and 6 weeks to do a deal. We've only got a week and a half left, which is why I never felt we would get Tchouaméni anyway, because we've done no work on it. The only possibility, I think, is Camavinga. Because it's the only deal we've sort of been linked to by credible people. But even then, I think that would have to go very quickly. I think we might see a couple go out the door. We'll definitely see a few loans going out the door, but I don't think we'll see anybody coming in. I don't know what you think. Would you like Ronaldo next year and do what Cavani did? Niran, I would probably... I remember saying about Ronaldo 6 years ago, this is the last summer we could go for Ronaldo when he was 31. He's now 36, and I'd still take him next year, yeah. So yeah, look, of course I would. Of course I would definitely take Ronaldo at Manchester United. I'll never not want Ronaldo at United because it's just a fantastic. Manchester United insist they've got no interest in Tchouaméni. Well, I mean that's via Manchester Evening News, but look, I don't need Manchester Evening News to tell me with something that Romano's already just told us a few minutes before. So forget Tchouaméni to Manchester United. It's just not going to happen. It was nice. It was a nice little story. But we spoke about it last night, didn't we? We said with Tchouaméni, we spoke about it quite in depth. Good player. United were never in for him, and we were never in for him. But 2 days ago, we were in for this Sarr lad, weren't we? And that's now disappeared. It seems at the moment that United are just getting thrown any midfielder. Do you think you're... do your thing, homie, says Milverton. Even I don't agree with you 80% times, but it's good discussion. Thanks, pal. Thanks for the super chat. And if Greenwood carries on this season the way he's done against Leeds, then we won't need Haaland. Greenwood for number 9, says Ray S. Mate, I've said this so many times. Generational talent, and I'm convinced that he is a... I'm convinced that Greenwood's a striker, and I'm convinced that he's a generational talent. So I'm with you, mate. I'm like, why do we need to go and buy a striker next summer when Mason Greenwood, if he's generational and he's a striker, could be one of the best strikers in the world? It's a massive season for Greenwood. I expect him to start again against Southampton. He's 19 years of age, leading the line for Manchester United. He's not the first to do that. He's not the first 19-year-old to play up front in the Premier League, but there's not many people doing that. And he's doing it on his own. I think people don't realise the age of Greenwood and the talent of Greenwood. I think he's a fantastic player, and I think that he's doing it in the Premier League as well. Whatever you say about Haaland, there's no doubting Haaland's world-class potential. Some would say he's world-class now. I'd still say he's not quite there, but he's definitely world-class potential. But Haaland's done it in, what was he, in the Austrian League, and he's now in the Bundesliga. I rate the Bundesliga, but I don't rate it anywhere near the Premier League. Greenwood's doing it up front for Manchester United in the Premier League, and long may that continue. Thanks for the super chat, Sunil. Marky, Chelsea should go for Rice. We should get Kante. French spine to the team. Pogba may stay, says Dark Mike Music Group. And Jack Bork says, Mark, what happened to that Venezuelan CDM we were linked to last season, says Jack. He's at Brighton, isn't he? He went to Brighton. That was another player we were linked to. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, look, fantastic show this morning. Nice to get the Tchouaméni update, because we weren't talking about Tchouaméni today, but nice to get the Tchouaméni update. It's over. It must have been love, but it's over now. That was a very quick one, but there you go. We enjoyed it while it lasted, but there was never anything in it. United obviously putting it out there that they're not in for him as well, which I think is very telling. You know, you've got Romano and the Manchester Evening News in the last few minutes saying that United are definitely not in for Tchouaméni. That's a club leak. The club have put that out there. Why do you think the club have put that out there? They don't want the momentum of this, because they and I would read into this United probably not buying anybody else, because why would United come out 24 hours after the Tchouaméni story and put it and kill it? Because they don't want momentum around a midfielder. Why don't they want some momentum around a midfielder? Because it will make fans feel bad if we don't buy one. So maybe you could read into that we're not buying anybody. Remember to enter the competition with Boohoo Man. Boohoo Man Activewear. The link is in the video description to enter the Arnold Festival competition. You can get 2 VIP tickets. The link is in the video description. You can meet Khabib and Eddie Hall. Links in the video description for that. Free to enter. Thanks to Boohoo Man for that competition. 2 VIP tickets available. Link through the video description. Make sure you enter. Thanks everyone for tuning in. You know I love this community. We've been doing it for years and years. It is the best community. The interaction, the conversation. It's not all bloody, you know, ring a roses. It's opinion. We're not always going to agree, but ultimately it's a news show this morning. I'm not sure how you can take the blame for doom and gloom in a news show when you're giving the news, but look, whatever. Haters are going to hate, trolls are going to infiltrate. That's the way it is. But the community is strong. Have a great day. Love you all. Speak to you all in a bit. Previews coming up this afternoon. Got a great new show coming at 8 o'clock tonight. Ollie's presser tomorrow. We're building towards a game. It's exciting times. Speak to you in a bit. Thanks for watching.